Good evening. This is the Elliott wave update for the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ 100 for Wednesday, August the 16th, 2023. Well, we did get past which one of the subscribers did notate that the must sell level in our markets, and both the NASDAQ and the S&P surpassed those levels today. And that would have been, and let me just show you, the 50 period moving average on the daily. Let me just take this up a notch and open that up, and I'll show you. There's the 50. So here was today, and it pretty much occurred. They tried to get it higher, and then when they broke it, look what happened. It took a little time to catch on, but when it did, it just went bang, 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 and it just kind of dropped. Even though on the day the S&P finishes down 3450, this made it look like it could have been a lot worse. So, but basically what we're now looking at is that there wouldn't likely be continuations. Now, where can all of this stop? Well, if we're looking at a break of the 50 on a moving average theory, you would be anticipating that the market's going to get down and test on a daily chart, the daily. Now, that doesn't always happen. It doesn't even come close. But what now I'm going to discuss is, how does that fit in? Well, it came at a point within, and I'm going to go back to the 4-hour chart because I like to be able to show what is kind of going on here. Let me open this up. There is the count. So in place pretty firmly at the moment. We have the primary B complete, the intermediate C, the minor 5, the minute 5, and we're coming down in the first minute degree, 5 waves down off of that high from primary wave B to kick off and start the long-awaited primary C wave decline. So what we have thus far, minus 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's a little bit of a question, and I have to accept, but I'm going back to what Elliott talked about, and Elliott did not talk about an expanding triangle, that the C wave has to outdo the A wave. Now, I know Prechter, in some revised editions, thanks to a subscriber, thank you very much. I love the conversation. I want to continue it. He was stating that they should. Well, this one did not. And because we had this anomaly, I'm going to call it, but this spike high on August the 10th, that it became expanding. I think otherwise it would have been a diagonal for wave 4. And it could have ended like right in here, and that would have just made it clean. But it didn't. So nonetheless, I am going to continue to hold it to that. But the conversation does continue. Because otherwise it's being labeled as what I'm not familiar with. You know, I know that Elliott Wave International has kind of switched some labeling around, and now including WXY, and where I call it a double ABC or a triple ABC. So I know that there was something else that was mentioned today by the subscriber. Again, very appreciative of the conversation. So I always am open to people that want to put forth a question. And when I ask a question back, they answer. That's perfect. That starts the conversation, which I think is very, very important for all of us that are studying and doing Elliott Wave. So if you are working with Elliott Wave and you have theory and you have thoughts about what's going on, please do ask, because we don't necessarily have to always agree. But I am very, very happy and open to having a conversation on interpretation. So as long as we're following the rules that Elliott wrote and continued, and we have a conversation, particularly that we're able to talk about the changes that we're seeing in labeling and within Elliott due to a lot of the volatility plays and just a lot of what is now happening within our markets. So moving on the 4-hour chart, I am counting at 1, 2, 3. We have minute wave 4 complete. We're in a minute 5th wave. Now, again, one thing that Elliott did tell us is that often, usually either waves 1, 3, or 5, and one of the things I have noticed, it doesn't necessarily have to be limited to just one of the three, but most often that the third wave is the longest and the strongest be due to the fact that it subdivides. And so what we first look for, even on a smaller level, within waves 1, 3, and 5, is the development of 5 waves within the move. So we're counting a minute degree, and so we'd be looking for 5 waves of minuet degree inside this, and we'd have to go down, of course, to the hourly, like to the lower time frames. Same thing here. But what we begin to see within that extended wave is that within the 3 of 3 move, it extends as well. Now, these all, in my opinion, were fairly in line with what expectations would be. Now, here we come into the 5th, and I believe it's going to be that 5th that is going to be much more extended. So within minute wave 5, which began right there off that high at 45, 40, almost 45, we'll call it. And so we have minuet wave 1, minuet wave 2, we're in minuet wave 3, and it is extending. And so far, we have now reached as far as what minute wave 5 would look like. We got pretty much down to 1.618, where minute wave 5 is 1.618 times the length of minute wave 1. And I thought, oh, okay, so maybe we're finished with wave 3. We're going to do a wave 4 bounce. Then I kind of went in, and I'm going to open this up again. We're going to go down to the hourly chart, and we're like, well, wait a minute. I don't know if I got 1, 2, and then I got a 3 and a 4, or 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of a smaller 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3, and it gets kind of iffy. So I believe that we're still inside, and we need one more. If I'm starting from here, so even if this is 1, 2, and we're inside this third, I've got 1, 2, 3. So I don't know if you can see that. Let me just open this up a little bit more. All right, 1, 2, 3. And this actually was the close. So whether that's a little tiny form, we're going to open up and we're going to get down to here, or maybe a little bit lower, to be determined. Let me just say that if we're just actually getting down to within this minuet wave 3, and we're inside the third, then we still have got a little bit more to go within the S&P before it is complete. So we're going to have to be careful about how we want to count this, because next up is where wave 3 is going to be 1.618 times the length of wave 1. Now we're doing the third, not necessarily the fourth. The fourth, the 5th wave of sequence is then on a fib basis compared to the first wave of the sequence. We're doing an internal, and the only thing that I really put together is that I'm normally going to be looking for 1.618. And that is down here. So, right, these go along where minuet wave 3 would be 1.618 times the length of minuet wave 1, and that's down at 43.77. So, and again, when we're looking at wave 3 being the longest wave, that has now been taken care of, in that thus far, down to today's low, what we've completed thus far has been a 100.75 points. So basically 101 points for the third, where the first is 80, almost 86. So if we round it up, so we have 86 and 101. So wave 3 is the longest, and it now has come across that it could be finishing the third right in here, We may get a little bit more. Maybe it does come down and actually gets to 44.14 or just below, because I just really think it needs one more little dip, and then we should get a minuette wave 4. And I believe that's what's going to bring us back up into here. Possibly. So we get a little bit of a rally, getting us back up around 44.50-ish, up to 44.65-ish. But what we can do is once it's in, we run our fibs from the top of wave 3, where it began, down to the bottom. And right now I'm just going to use today's low. And then we can see 382, 44.55. So we get back up into that fourth wave, previous fourth wave. We put in the minuette wave 4, and then we come down into minuette wave 5. So again, 43.77 comes into play. And if we're looking at minute wave 5, 1.618 is at 44.14. If that's just going to take care of wave 3, and we get a 4 and a 5, we can come in between. But the next fib level for the minute wave 5, once this is cleared, drops all the way to 43.33. But because we have some additional here, I'm looking for this thing to complete. We get a little bit of a fourth wave rally, and then again, an additional drop, 43.77.78 would be perfect for a fifth wave. And again, once we do get this minuette wave 4, then one more time I can go in and take comparison of minuette wave 5 to minuette wave 1 and put those fibs, and we'll be able to have a nice cluster down in here to give us where this minor first wave will complete. And now I have to tell you that as far as the alternate, which again I'm keeping here in the SPX and the cash market, it also, this all has to move, obviously. So let me get this stuff out of the way. And it's coming down if we look at it in a C wave. Oops, let's bring that back down to there and give it another chance. And what we can do is we can put in some fibs extensions to see what, whoops, come on, what wave C will look like. Well, we reached the 100% point. Wave C equals wave A right here where we closed today, just below actually at 44.06. So you could turn around and say a basis the cash market, which won't reopen until tomorrow. And so we got the future that's going to trade it'll start trading in about about 35 minutes. And it's going to trade all night until tomorrow morning when we reopen at 9:30 Eastern. So if that's the case, we may come down. If we rally back up, you're going to be able to say on a cash basis, if it rallies back above, okay, that's over. See, and minor wave 4 complete at that level. Now, this is where the difference comes in. So again, let's just say, for example, that the futures market was a little bit of rally, comes back down, finishes a 3, goes back up, finishes a 4, comes back down, and finishes the 5. Can it do that all overnight? Sure. They're not huge degrees. They're a little bit less, although they're ending up to being pretty large moves. What if it finishes also as well, and this gets labeled minor wave 1 of intermediate wave 1? So remember, primary C wave. What's it going to consist of? 5 waves. I'm just doing the color. Primary is green. Primary C wave down. First, it's going to consist of 5 waves of intermediate degree. What's going to be inside that first wave of intermediate degree? 5 waves of minor degree. And that's what we're getting ready to finish. So I'd be looking for a minor wave 2. And this, like I've been explaining, is where the truth will be told, which is actually going to play out. So because to disqualify the minor wave 4, the market has to go down quite a bit more before it would cross over and violate the rule that a fourth wave cannot intersect or cross into the price territory of wave 1. Because remember, fourth waves are correcting wave 3. If you go beyond the starting point of wave 3, it's no longer correcting wave 3. It is breaking the rule. So that would shift that out of the way, shift it over, and it becomes this count. Now, if indeed it holds and this goes down and they both finish and they both start to rally, then what am I going to be looking for? I'm going to be looking for an ABC in a minor wave 2 or 5 waves up in a minor wave 5. Proof will be in the pudding, folks, and that's what we're going to be looking for. I stick and continue to stick with my preferred count, which I've already apologized. I'll do it again. I'm so sorry for jumping the gun and kind of flipping things around the other day. It was not the right thing to do, and I wish I would have just been a little bit more calm about it. But I thought, oh, I want to be ahead of this, et cetera, et cetera. But in any case, here we are getting additional information from the market, and that we are now unfolding pretty cleanly in this fifth wave down, which is breaking into its own 5, which is now also being pretty clean. So let's say we can get this done. Now, here in the S&P, it could finish just easily. It's the NASDAQ that needs a little bit more, so that wave 3 will be the longer than wave 1. So here, we don't have that worry right now, because wave 3 is the longest inside this minute fifth wave. So all is good here. So we can put a little bounce in here. And here are our fibs, 44.55. And I really don't consider that would allow for, we have to, like a 50%. I know we need that 3A2. Oops. I'm not looking for anything in terms of an irregular here. So here we have it. 44.45 up to, 45.55 up to 44.67. And the 618 goes with this sequence down. So there's the zero line. The 100% goes into this minuet wave 3 and where its territory is. So now we don't want to get confused. We get too many lines, and I understand. So let's just keep in mind, if today's low completed minute wave 3, we get a bounce, we're looking for 44.55 to 44.67. Now I'm going to take that one off because we want to be able to look at what we got, and that are the extensions for the completion point, which we want to leave this in play if we get another extended drop, either overnight or tomorrow. Okay, so again, we're coming along very nicely. I believe that we're now getting set up for a smaller minuet wave 4. Still going to be a decent rally, and it's going to look pretty good, probably similar to this, but from somewhere down here. Yeah. And I would think it's not going to be flat. Maybe because we get a lot of sell pressure. It doesn't get very far, right? But they still need to get that rally in. This was more of a flat, but if we get the other side in, it could be a zigzag, a quick zigzag back up into this area. Okay, so that's not taking back, but it is taking back 38 to 50% retracement. All right, so moving averages, everything coming in. We saw, like I just explained, on the daily, broke the 50, closed below the 50, negative. And so we're looking for follow through to the downside. We did get it once it broke. And we got some acceleration. We got some nice acceleration. Now, I'm going to move over to the NASDAQ and tell you what fought it in the NASDAQ, believe it or not. and all the way up into the end, and then it even then some. So here we are. A little bit continue, we get a wave 4. Again, minuet 1, 2, 3, and then minuet 4. Minuet 5 completes minute 5 and minor wave 1. Then we're looking for a little bit larger, a minor degree ABC bounce. Over in the NASDAQ. Also, once it broke, go over to the daily here, and we're going to go here. The 50 was much lower, but it did actually here, but they fought this all day. So this is pretty much the same, right? Here's the 50 running right here, 50.84. Now I'm going to go back to that hourly chart. 50.84 right in here. So see what happened when it finally did? Bam. And then they tried to rally it, and then bam and bam. So the must sell level, and again, thank you. I don't remember your acronym from, but you were a subscriber. And I want to thank you for providing that additional information because it was useful. And so I'm hoping you guys will read comments because you're going to pick up some useful information. We have a lot of people that do a lot of good work, and they're contributing to our conversation in terms of what the market is doing. So enough said there. Now, here we came down also to where wave 3 would be 100% of wave 1. But I did the math. So in the NASDAQ, wave 3 is right now 388 points. Wave 1 was 421. So I need 33 more points. That's where these guys will be equal. So the low was 19. The low actually was 21. If I get it down to 13, that's only 8. So I'm not sure why this is coming up the way it is, but I'll go with it. I needed to get below so that wave 1 and wave 3 would at least be equal. And then we were not looking that wave 3 is going to be the shortest wave, because that is, again, an Elliott rule that we really can't break. But here as well, and let me open this little guy up. This one looks even more like it needs. If we kind of count it down, we got a 1, and then we got a 2, and then 1, 2, and then 1, 2, 3. Right? I don't want to call this the 3rd, and this is the 4, and this is the 5 of 3. Did I do this wrong? Hold on one second. Hold on. I want to make sure that I may have just miscalculated. I'm going to recalculate here. 51.69, and then minus today's low, 14,921. Oh, still, that would be this 3rd. I did take it from up here. So I'm taking 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 4, 5. That was my thought. So in the NASDAQ, it does appear that we still need to finish up inside this minuet wave 3, the 3rd wave. And then we get a 4th wave, and then we get a 5th wave. So down here, 14,863 could be the ticket. So once we break this, which I think we will, we're dropping just our calculations for wave 3. Okay, for minuet wave 3 within minute wave 5, that drops quickly to 14,653. So if we continue this kind of like everybody out of the pool attitude in the NASDAQ, what held it up today? Apple held, even though they're really kicking butt here, Apple managed to stay up 10 cents, 11 cents. And I have to tell you, because I watch these things, Apple can uptick 5 to 10 cents, and it equates to $5 to $10 in the index. And usually because there can be a couple of things that are contributing to it, but I really wasn't noticing other things. Apple kind of rallied, and that kind of brought Microsoft up a little bit, and other things up a little bit. But NVIDIA also, it did slide, it got red and ended in red, but they really would always kind of quickly bring it back up into the green during this heavier selling today. Interesting day when you're watching some of the components, you're wondering, what are you guys thinking? But I happen to believe that a lot of it is swirling around NVIDIA's earnings next week. And this is for option traders. If any of you guys trade options and you're old enough and you remember reversal conversions, they are plentiful in NVIDIA right now, and not for this week's, but next week's expiration. So they report on Wednesday with the expiration on Friday. And there's a lot of activity happening in the, I'll show you. It is the August 25th options. And you got to really scroll down, but look at the 500s. And this premium was much, much higher because the stock ended up closing down. But you can see what they're paying, where the stock is. And if you know how to do a reverse conversion, this one was not getting done as much as you think. So they're only doing it halfway, where they're selling this premium and buying that and buying the stock. So again, it's an interesting day to watch what option traders are doing. But I think it's a lot of retail coming in, because there was that Morgan Stanley analyst. He says, "Oh, I'm still very fond of my price target of $500. Well, they got up to 480. And even in this swing, they already got it up past 450 yesterday, I believe it was. So, and the last time NVIDIA reported, the stock ran up 100 points after the earnings was reported, and the CEO came out and just glorified his company. So, back to the beast called the NASDAQ. I think we still have a little bit more to do before we're finishing this second, the internal third wave within the minuette wave 3. So we finish the third, do up a 4, a little 4. This was pretty small. Do another small 4, come back down. Maybe we're going to have support at 14,863. But when it comes to that third wave, though, when we start to drop below 14,913, we do have that as support, but that is in relationship to the minute fifth wave. So yeah, it probably should still hold, but I think we go lower. We finish minute 3, we bounce in a larger fourth, a minuette wave 3, bounce up back in a minuette wave 4, come back down in a minuette fifth wave. And I think we are looking in between this here. This is a little bit of a black hole. But once I can get that 3 and the 4, I'll be able to put on, like I did here, for minute wave 5, we'll be looking again for minuette wave 5 and see what clusters we can get going down in here. So the NASDAQ has some strong potential where it can end up down here. Right? Once this breaks, the next logical level on an Elliott basis and a fib basis is the most common. Wave 5 equals wave 1. Second, wave 5 is 0.618 of wave 1. Well, that's been exceeded substantially. The third, wave 1 equals 1.618. And that's all the way down here at 14,500. They keep talking about how the NASDAQ is overvalued. All the stocks have been overvalued. They've been pushed, they've been pushed, they've been pushed. We've got all this positive energy flowing, and now it's getting pulled out. So lots of things can happen as things get rebalanced here, folks. So again, for tomorrow, I think we might, and hopefully we get it overnight, and we get the continuation of the downside, and then we get this minuette wave 3 complete. We can get a minuette 4 going. And by the way, when it does complete, you just throw your fibs on from the top of wave, where wave 3 began, right there, 15,338. No, it's actually it's 335. Sorry. We put it there and we run it down to wherever it finishes, and then you 382 to 50%. That's what you'd be looking for in that small fourth wave. And then you're going to have, once that is complete, You can run the 5 comparison to 1, and you're doing it on minuette level now. So again, you're going to get to build all these clusters for yourself. I will also fill in the blanks when it's time. Now, this is pretty much what I got. That's pretty much where I'm going to end it for today because it's a lot to interpret, but I do think we're well on our way and we should continue to head lower. Tomorrow, we have initial jobless claims at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. We have also, right after, the Philadelphia Fed Manufacturing Survey. This one is a market mover. Now, it is last report, it decreased. It was down 13.5. This one's saying down 0.10 in addition to that. Also, initial jobless claims should come in less than last month. More people going back to work? Very possibly. Then we also have U.S. leading economic indicators at 10 a.m. Eastern. All of what's coming out tomorrow are market movers. So from pre-market till the end of the first half hour of trade, we could get some really wild stuff going on. Plus, add into it, at least in the NASDAQ, it's like get out mode. So that's what could provide us with a pretty steady Thursday for trading. Today was not bad. The turns were wicked. You needed to pay attention. You didn't want to dump a lot of money, but you had to be very careful because the money to be made, of course, was to the sell side today. And it was there, and it just rewarded and rewarded and rewarded. So again, depending on how you trade and what you trade, hopefully tomorrow will be another excellent day. Be open to both sides. That's what I got to tell you. Be open to both sides. All right. I'm going to end it right there. Our next update will be on Thursday, August the 17th.